I was thinking about how sometimes when I'm talking to people about dreams and how magical they are, uh, people will make a comment like, well, I go out in nature, or I meditate, or there's a sense that you have to choose one or the other, as opposed to experiencing what the value is in each way to meet yourself spiritually and creatively. And I just wanted to speak a little bit about what I feel is the difference. And I'll go to a couple of those examples that I just gave. So my first thing is when I'm talking about it, I can get very animated and really passionate. And this is because I've had so many years of working with the dreams of my own and other people's dreams, and to see the amazing things that have happened. So if someone hears this for the first time, perhaps, I've even seen, I watched a TV show and someone was explaining their idea of what dreams were, and it's a collaboration of different things that you saw over the day that you weren't paying attention to, and then it comes together in this whole new way. And that's quite possible that happens. However, I know of instances where someone has been on the other side of the world, dreamed about somebody, and then the phone rings. Maybe they haven't talked in 20 years. There's something far beyond just our processing of what our brains are thinking. There is a spiritual element, there's a mysterious element, and something really powerful that we can connect with when we're doing dream work. So if I say then that, well, I go into nature, that's one of my favorite things to do, is to go out and feel the magic that can be in the trees and the water and feeling a breeze go by. And you can get into this absolutely amazing state by doing that. And it can help to inspire us to really feel something deep inside ourselves. That's a great thing. And we don't have to go anywhere or do anything but close our eyes and surrender to tap into the kinds of fields, the spiritual fields that I'm talking about. And there's something very important and powerful about being able to do that. Maybe we've got a million little antennas inside of us, or it's just one big one that we just haven't placed exactly where that is or how that works. But I do know we can receive something that's spiritual, that's electrical, that's beyond our understanding for right now. But it takes us way beyond what we can hold or completely understand in our brains. And I believe that's probably why sometimes we have a dream and we're trying to make sense of it, and we don't have words for some of what's happening, and we do our best to describe it. And that's a powerful thing, because if you remember and you describe as much as you can, then you've kind of captured it on paper or you've recorded it, and then you have this opportunity to review what the dream is offering you. And I want to encourage people to start to explore what happens if you close your eyes and you drift off to sleep, or you daydream, or you just notice something that you weren't noticing when your eyes were open. And to begin to be curious about what that's trying to reveal, or if something's trying to be revealed. You don't even have to believe that it's possible, just to begin to experiment, because that connection that we have to the mystery and to the unknown, it really can change our whole idea about what's going on within ourselves and out in the world. Me going inside can connect me to all that's out there. And if you haven't experienced it yet, it doesn't make sense, and there's a reason why we might want to avoid that and minimize it. I'm just saying, it's just really magical, and it's really powerful. And all those fairy tales that we were reading or got read to us when we were kids, there's something more magical than what we've imagined so far in the field that I'm talking about. When we go into that mysterious place that's connected to how the universe works, and I don't know that there's this logical explanation for everything. Sometimes there are new things that we can understand. It's the brain that is processing something, but it's not the actual brain. It's bigger than our little brains, and we're trying to use our brains to make sense of it. So, whatever it is about using the word magic, I know there's some taboo around that. We've probably got some ancestral memories around that. And now, since we've gone out into space, probably in the early 60s, once we went into outer space, we've been talking about the light forever and the power of the light. We thought that the sun was the big it, right? And our fears about what has happened to us in the dark, especially when we didn't know what was going on out there, and what the benefits are when we had the sunlight, it's affected our wiring about our connection with the dark. And the dreams are trying to help us to navigate that mystery, right? So these are all my theories. These are all theories, and some of them work really well, and a lot of them end up changing as we go along. I guess to get to experience this thing of synchronicity or psychic phenomena or having a connection with someone where we can have the same idea at the same time. Those kinds of things increase as we start to explore beyond our thoughts, the things that we already think we've got figured out. So I'm inviting you to not know. I'm not saying you have to believe anything I'm saying. I'm encouraging you to explore and to see what happens. I've had so many amazing experiences myself. Matter of fact, I thought in the beginning that I was something special, right? Because I was having all these magical things happening. Oh my God, this person called me. I was thinking of them and they called me. I saw this face, and it was the guy in my dream. In my dreams, he said when I meet this person, to pay attention to what he had to say. I had all these stories, and lots of synchronicity, and lots of amazing signs. But once I started listening to other people's dreams and spending time seeing what was happening for them, I started to understand that this is something where everyone is special. And that what comes to you is your unique, so powerful, superior, great, fantastic, magical self. We each are special as we move more deeply into ourselves and connect to these pieces, this part that we might not have been raised to even believe was possible. So that is one area where I know I'm really fortunate, because I've talked about this before, and I know that this is part of the African culture, American Indian culture, in India, lots of countries where there is a respect for the dreams, a respect for the mystery, where it's part of the everyday culture. And in America and Britain, and there's another level of really understanding or trying to understand what dreams are about and articulating that, and having different patterns of ways that you can use dreams and take advantage of those dreams. And sometimes it becomes so intellectual that we forget that there is an experience that's very simple that you can find out about on your own. You don't need any books. They can be helpful and very informative, but this is something that is given to us. It's our birthright. It's something that we're meant to have, to use. And I can't wait to see what happens as we come back to this. I really feel like we're beginning to come back. Our interest in the mystery is returning as we've tried all these other things to feel connected, to feel safe, to feel alive. We now see that we can't really completely depend on something outside ourselves for our personal truth. We can gain knowledge and experience from listening to others, from coming together and sharing and having collective consensus about things. But ultimately, just as most of us die alone, we really have our deepest reality individually on our own. And it means being willing to go past what our fears are about what that means when we don't have the answers, but we're closing our eyes and hoping that we open up a whole other universe when we go inside. There's no words for the magic that could happen. And imagine if each one of us had this as part of our daily life, and then we were sharing with each other from those kinds of places. It's just so much could happen and change, and the way that we engage with each other can change. I have to say, in working with people over this period of time that I've gotten to do, I've seen what happens when a couple, like they come in and they have an issue or a problem, or they just want to explore something more with each other. There's something that happens when each person is sharing their daydream, their visions, their dreams that they have at night. There's a bond that happens that runs really deep, so that even when there are disagreements or the two people split up, there's a difference in how that's done and how each person feels. There's something indescribable about that kind of connection. So if I'm upset with someone, one of the things that I like to do is to share the dreams I'm having with that person, and to be open to them sharing the dreams they're having, or their daydreams, or their visions, because we go deeper than what we are experiencing a problem to be, where the opposites and that tension actually becomes something much more important and much more powerful than where we started. We become bigger, the both of us, by being willing to share at that deeper level. And that's the dreams are teaching us. It's a practice to help us begin to expand our capability to grok, experience, whatever all of this is. So please, if you have any curiosity about this and you don't know where to start, or you have questions, I invite you to definitely reach out and contact me, and also discuss it with people. Everybody knows somebody who's had some connection with dreams. It's just everywhere. It's all over the place. And taking that risk to say we're curious, or to hear someone describe to you what it means for them, these are all steps that can help to bridge that gap between our fear and our concern and our passion and excitement and the practical gifts that come when we start to pay attention to what our internal voice, heart, soul, that connection from the night, from the unknown, with and through the dreams, can help change not only our lives individually, but our lives collectively. And God knows we need something to help bring in more change and more magic and evolution. When's the last time we had a really big leap in evolution? I have a feeling something's coming. I really do. And I'd love to share that with you and with us all, with each other. So, thank you.
Question for you.
Yes.
Do you think that you're tapping into a natural law of the universe? Like you were saying, I used to think I was unique, or what was happening to me was really special. And then I realized, well, it's really, when people do this work, it happens to everybody. So I suspect then that there are some natural laws of the universe we have yet fully to articulate and uncover, that we can do through process.
Absolutely. The piece to me that's important is, and I think this is a little bit different than going about something scientifically, is usually with science you have to have the proof and the theory. Until the theory is established, you don't trust it. And that's okay. whatever this natural law is, just like we eat, we have to eat, we have to go to the bathroom, there's elimination involved. We seem to be born, and this is particularly important, we're born with our emotional awareness and our spiritual awareness. And the other pieces come as we develop, but there's something very primary about our emotional energy and our spiritual energy. And so I encourage people to notice what those laws may be, but don't let that hold you back from starting to explore and play in this arena of our emotional, spiritual selves, because you don't need to understand it for it to begin to gift you, for you to begin to receive the treasures about it. And I do feel that it's just as important as it is eating and drinking water, having dreams nourish and support you is essential to a more powerful, what is that word when you talk about, it's more than about power, it's
Transformation?
that's one of the things that can happen when we are tapping into this kind of power. It absolutely can transform. So forgive me if I don't remember the word right now, because sometimes people think of power, there's something about trying to control things. And this is more of a surrendering to the vastness and the limitlessness of energy. There's an energetic field or an energetic opening that's what we can tap into without needing to have all the proof. Eventually, if you're doing this and you're practicing it, your personal experience will be your proof. It's like you're building a bank account of experience that then it becomes full of riches and you can rely on it, and you know that you can rely on it. And no matter what anybody else says, which you can totally listen to and accept and appreciate what anybody's point of view is about it, you have your own personal experience of something bigger and greater than whatever we can come up with, has something to do with what we now are energetically experiencing, and we can begin to relax and surrender to that and allow that energy to move through us out into the world, into the universe. And people can feel that. You can feel it, other people can feel it, other creatures can feel it. And one of the things for me that dreams have showed me and giving me specific instruction is that there's consciousness in everything. And we can find underlying laws. We can find underlying parallels and patterns. That can come. I'm just suggesting that you don't have to wait and have the proof before you begin to explore it and experience it for yourself. And that's the most important thing. Can I take a risk and move into the yet known? We don't even have to call it the unknown. The yet known, because that's what, we find these laws, we find these patterns. Can I take a risk and explore and see what happens, experience what happens when I do that? And that's the question to be asking. So there's other things we can talk about that. There's some challenges sometimes that we need to move through in order to get there, and practicing and exploring even a little bit at a time. If I have a vision of a red toenail and I write that down, something seems to open up, and there's more and more of where that vision, that experience came from, that I will have an easier access to each time I practice taking it seriously, honoring it as something sacred, if not sacred, important and valuable. I find it to be extremely sacred, again, because there's my father's life, twice my father's life was saved from dreams that came up. Once my sisters and I, there's three of us, my dad had already had heart issues, and he was supposed to have a special diet, and one day, we each, independent of each other, not even knowing, called, and his partner would have to let him know that we each had called, and then we got to talk to him, and we each had a dream about him dying. The dreams had a little bit of variance in it, but we each called without having spoken to each other. And my father was so blown away by that he snapped up and started paying more attention to what he was eating and started exercising again. And I believe because that happened, we got another 10 years, maybe it was even 15 years of life with our dad, because he was so freaking scared of losing his life if he didn't start paying more attention to how he was living his life. And that was magic that came through in those dreams that each of us shared with him. So that's one of many, many stories that I can share. Although, you know what, there is one I would also like to share about. This is one of my clients had had a very bad, toxic, traumatic relationship with her father. That's how she would have described her relationship with him. And she left where she was born and came to California in part to get away from that pain and that trauma. And they lost connection, her and her father, for many, many years. And it turned out that he got very ill and he was in the process of probably dying. And so she came over and we started talking about that. And so I suggested that we do a waking dream session. And mostly what I'm doing is just witnessing that person after we go into a very deep, relaxed state. People might call it the alpha state. There's all kind of delta state, there's theta state, there's all these different states. And my job is to support and witness so that that person can have their experience. And so as it was happening, she was sharing with me what seemed to be a conversation with her father. And in it, he asked to be forgiven. He apologized for the things that he had done that had caused her so much pain, and let her know that he realized that he had repeated patterns of things that he'd gone through instead of breaking that pattern with her. He told her how much he loved her and valued her and appreciated her. And then after sharing some other things, he said that he was going to die, and he gave her the day, a Wednesday between 1 and 3. And several days later, on that Wednesday, he died at 1:30 in the afternoon. So she probably had a question whether she could trust any of that, right? All the things he said to her. But when he shared with her while she was in this state, when he was going to pass on, and that's exactly when it happened, that helped her to really anchor what happened between the two of them. And she was able to really take that in and work on forgiving him. And it also showed her how magical life was. I mean, she was able to connect to her father, who was unconscious in a different state. How do you explain that? That's more than having a couple of different things you did that day come together in a new way later on. This is about moving past our limitations in our logical, intellectual brains and tapping into something that's much more vast, that's greater than what we were able to imagine previously. So there are many, many stories like that, that we take that risk, that we could be disappointed, or that we might end up with some unusual anxiety or fear. Moving through or meeting that, as long as you're willing to keep trusting in the process, you will move through those obstacles, including anything that was in there already, our fears that we just didn't feel safe enough to meet. If a dream brings us something, as an example, nightmares, the nightmare is not to make you afraid. The nightmare is to wake you up so that you can face the fear that's been repressed, pushed down. You might not have even known that you were holding that. This is my theory, based on, again, my personal experiences and what I got to witness with so many other people. our fear is to get us to wake up and make a choice to trust that there's something deeper that is there supporting us through the human experience, so that we can go beyond that and reach these other arenas, these energetic fields, one way to call it, that help us to expand our spiritual connection, our emotional connection, our creative connection. So, much more to come. And I look forward to going into more details about tips, things that you can do to help yourself remember your dreams, to help you have ways to understand and explore what the dreams are showing, and how to bring that imaginative story-making reality into this plane in a way that makes your life better, that helps to transform, that helps to bring more love and life and laughter and depth and compassion, all those things, and so much more. Thank you.
I think that's really good. That's great. I will